Hey everyone, I'm Jay Sokol, and welcome to Brazos Matters. If you've listened to previous episodes of this show, you know that we have conversations with people throughout the Texas A&M campus and the broader community in order to better understand issues that affect the lives of those who live and work in Aggieland. Well, today's show is a bit different. Recently, A&M School of Education and Human Development hosted its 8th annual Voices of Impact speaker series. 12 faculty members representing the school's 4 departments each delivered fascinating talks that were each about 5 minutes in length. The 4 departments in A&M School of Education and Human Development are Educational Administration and Human Resource Development, Educational Psychology, Kinesiology and Sport Management, and Teaching, Learning, and Culture. Now, you can learn more about the School of Education and Human Development and each of the 4 departments by visiting education.tamu.edu. Now, while we don't have time to share all 12 talks, we do want to share as many as we can. Then encourage you to watch or listen to all of them, just like I did, on YouTube. You can go to youtube.com/AggieEducation. You'll see the 2024 Voices of Impact playlist. Now, if you didn't catch that, I'll mention the website again a few more times. The first 5-minute talk is called Stress, Sleep, and Wellbeing in Principals, and I'm talking about school principals. It's given by Dr. Eleanor Sue Keene, who is an assistant professor of teaching, learning, and culture. And I'll be honest, I imagine being a principal was pretty difficult. I didn't think about it in the ways that Dr. Sue Keene outlines. Here she is.
A career in education can be incredibly rewarding, but also incredibly challenging. Teachers experience heavy workloads, low pay, large class sizes, in addition to the emotional toll that can come from serving our most vulnerable children. Indeed, we know that teachers are stressed, and we can see this evidence in the ongoing workforce shortage. But in our public discussions, we often forget one very important person, and that is the principal. A great principal is essential for a great school. They cultivate a positive school climate, develop an equity-driven mission, and make sure that time and resources contribute to school improvement. A great principal is also a master teacher. They develop teachers' teaching capacity, limit bureaucratic demands and constraints, and prioritize teachers' and students' well-being well before their own. In fact, principals are often seen as superheroes, capable of solving any issue, emotionally and mentally strong, and impervious to stress. But this is simply not true. Principals have very complicated jobs. Right now, they're navigating hostile political tensions, managing crumbling building infrastructure, plugging away at a massive workforce shortage, and more, all with limited support and funds to be able to do that well. In a recent national survey, 85% of principals experience frequent job-related stress, which is higher than teachers and more than twice that of the general working population. Principals were also more likely to experience psychological burnout, depression, and lack healthy coping skills. We know that over time, chronic stress can impact our health. It suppresses the immune system, it increases the risk of cardiovascular disease, stroke, and severe mental health disorders. It can also impact our work by affecting our brain through the memory, decision-making, and emotional regulation, which are all critical to effective school leadership. As an interdisciplinary researcher, I explore issues in education from a health science perspective, such as school improvement and leadership retention. My research looks at the impact of stress on principals' health, well-being, and their ability to be a great school leader. Currently, my team and I are looking at the role of sleep as a potential pathway between stress and the negative personal and professional outcomes. In a study that's a first of its kind, we had principals wear sleep watches during the spring school year and during the summer as they recorded perceptions of stress, health, and job performance. And we found that despite feeling really tired, they actually slept within a normal range, that is 7 to 8 hours a night. However, their sleep quality was significantly disrupted. They had trouble falling asleep, they experienced frequent awakenings from tossing and turning, and major sleep disruptions, anywhere from 10 minutes to hours before being able to fall back asleep. Not surprisingly, this was more frequent and severe during the school year when stress was significantly higher. During the school year, principals also struggled more with anxiety and depression. Principals shared that stressors like consequences from state testing and the ever looming fear of a school shooting kept them up at night and even gave them nightmares. This combination of high stress, poor mental health, and disrupted sleep impacted their well being. Habits like healthy meals, consistent exercise were disrupted, and unhealthy behaviors like alcohol consumption increased, which further impacted their sleep, leading to a vicious cycle. Ultimately, principals felt less efficacious in their jobs, more overwhelmed, and really questioned their ability to stay in their position. These findings are very concerning because principals have a large impact on their entire school, and because school improvement requires sustained leadership across multiple years. But we believe there's hope because principals and stakeholders like us are shifting that narrative. Principals are important people, but they are also human. And they're looking for support more so than ever. And together, we're working on interventions to support their well being. Moving forward, we're working on a larger study across educational professionals, from teachers to superintendents, to explore sleep and other strategies as interventions. Together, I hope that our interdisciplinary approach that leverages the health sciences can inform policy and procedures in school systems to support the educational workforce so that they can best care for our children. Thank you.
That was Dr. Eleanor Sue Keene, Assistant Professor of Teaching, Learning, and Culture. The next Voices of Impact speaker we're featuring is Dr. Stephen Reichman, an Associate Professor in Kinesiology and Sport Management. And his talk is about tracking fatigue in soldiers, which is super interesting. It addresses how to analyze breath biomarkers in real time to predict and detect levels of fatigue that could have critical consequences for our troops.
Imagine the harrowing experience of a soldier on the battlefield, surrounded by gunfire, bombs exploding, enduring sleepless nights on security duty, or marching for hours with a 70-pound pack, all while facing the threat of intense firefights. Adding to these challenges, crucial decision-making is often removed from the front lines, making it difficult to gauge the effect of these stressors on the soldiers and their readiness for combat. Thanks to the generous funding from the Department of Defense, my research is dedicated to addressing this gap by developing cutting-edge technology to provide real-time information on every soldier's status, ensuring that vital data is readily available to decision makers. This advancement not only enhances the overall understanding of a soldier's well-being, but also contributes to improving their preparedness and effectiveness in the field. In high-stakes environments like the battlefield, plane, or ship, fatigue can lead to costly mistakes, and early detection is crucial for saving lives. Currently, my laboratory is funded to tackle this critical issue by identifying breath biomarkers that are associated with physical, mental, and sleep deprivation fatigue. My laboratory's goal is to develop wearable technology, including breath biosensors, that can detect and predict fatigue in real time. The breath, as a continuous source of information about our internal state, holds incredible potential to achieve these goals. With each breath, we exhale over 3,000 volatile organic compounds produced within our bodies. This concept isn't entirely new. Many animals, like dogs, who have a specialized structure in their nose called the Jacobson's organ, smell the chemicals given off other animals to sense their status. In fact, dogs have been trained to detect cancer by smelling the breath or the skin or the tissues of the patient. Remarkably, a woman demonstrated the ability to detect Parkinson's disease simply by smelling the shirt of a patient, even identifying it long before a formal diagnosis. My research aims to leverage this extraordinary potential of breath to revolutionize how we monitor and address fatigue in critical situations. In my research, I'm aiming to unveil the unique chemical signature of breath that emerges when an individual transitions from the rested to the fatigue state, and it is hypothesized that each type of fatigue will have a distinct chemical profile. While it's difficult to define fatigue, my current work includes 3 types of fatigue experiments: 30 hours of sleep deprivation, 2 hours on the treadmill with 70 pounds on your back, and 2 hours of intense mental activities. This work is considered high risk because we entered not knowing if we would find anything at all. But considering the progress we have made, I am confident that we will succeed in identifying several biomarkers of each type of fatigue. Armed with these biomarkers, we can trace their origins in the body and potentially manipulate them to delay fatigue and prolong a high level of performance. Furthermore, I envision cost-effective biosensors seamlessly integrated into a soldier's gear, providing real-time fatigue data for commanders to make informed decisions. Looking ahead, my journey extends with a new collaboration with the Department of Defense, where the aim is to trace sleep deprivation biomarkers to their blood source, gaining deeper insights to alleviate the burden of fatigue. Excitingly, this year marks the inauguration of the Tactical Human Performance Laboratory that will be in the Huffines Institute of Sport Medicine and Human Performance. As director of this new laboratory, I will lead multidisciplinary teams to expand studies on mental and physical performance and fatigue, including a new dimension of fatigue, thermoregulation, and dehydration. Between pushing the limits of human performance and collapse from total exhaustion lies a gap in which there are signs that can predict when a soldier's performance will fail. And my goal is to fill this gap through the identification of those signs and getting that information into the hands of those decision makers to prevent catastrophic consequences. Thank you.
That was Dr. Stephen Reichman from the Department of Kinesiology and Sport Management. The next Voices of Impact speaker is Dr. Hyun-Woo Lee, an assistant professor in kinesiology and sport management, who talks about esports and the new generation. Now, as a reminder, you can go back and watch or listen to any or all of the 2024 Voices of Impact speakers. Just visit youtube.com/Aggie Education.
As a scholar studying sport consumer behavior, I was surprised in 2019 when I found out that Dota 2 Esports World Championships prize pool was bigger than Wimbledon, the most prestigious tennis competition in the world. This got me curious, so I started studying esports. Esports, or electronic sports, is an organized competitive video gaming. It has evolved into a lucrative career with its own ecosystem of professional gamers, coaches, teams, leagues, and devoted fans. What sets esports apart is everything's connected to technology. It is a key driver to its entire ecosystem. In an exploratory study, my research team found that everybody involved in esports were hyper-connected online when playing, watching, and sharing the esports culture. There is a shared love for it. Esport is not just a game. It's become a way of life. Young people are drawn to it because they see it as a fairer digital playground for self-improvement. So what does esport offer to the younger generation? First, it provides a sense of achievement, which helps them learn how to be successful. Second, it fosters a sense of community, where group members, they form a sense of bonding, which extends to real life. Third, it teaches them personal and social coping strategies, which improves their social skills, the soft skills, needed to deal with difficult situations. And fourth, it contributes to happiness. We found that gamers they showed higher well-being when they were able to manage stress and also maintain social connections. High school surveys show that participation in extracurricular esport activities correlates with increased attendance and improved grades. Another significant finding was the generational gap in the perceptions of esports. If all of these concepts of esports sounds new to you, you're probably in the older generation. So let me ask you a question. Who was your role model growing up? Just as everybody else in my generation, everybody wanted to be like Michael Jordan. Today's youth find inspiration in the digital fields. As an alternative to traditional sports, esport appears to be an excellent way to develop character and leadership. So gamers find intrinsic motivation in esports led by pure enjoyment, inner satisfaction, and also a sense of autonomy. Watching my daughter grow up playing games has opened up my eyes to understand how technology is part of younger people's lives. When she was in elementary school, she used to play a game called Roblox. And she would post gaming videos online on YouTube. People will actually watch that video. And YouTube would pay her. What surprised me the most is how savvy she was with the ecosystem. For instance, she would not reveal her face until she reached a certain number of followers. So younger people are more competent in this hyper-connected world. They display a higher ethical value, critical thinking skills online, and they are much better in detecting fake news. While traditional sport participation is becoming more individualized, the gaming community is bringing people together. So I say that we support this new generation's culture of esports. I say we help the gamers make the best of it for their well-being. We should get rid of the self-imposed stigma about esports gaming becoming a lifestyle for younger people. Let's champion the esports evolution and support the new generation. When asked if esport is a sport, Faker, the greatest of all time professional gamer in League of Legends, he said, an important element of sport is in how the necessary hard work sets a positive example. But what is most meaningful in the sport area is how the highest level of competition really inspires people. So this is how esport is shared in today's culture as a true source of inspiration. Thank you for listening.
Dr. Hyun-Woo Lee is an assistant professor in kinesiology and sport management. Our next featured Voices of Impact speaker is Dr. Ananya Tiwari, an ACES assistant professor of educational psychology. Her talk, called Finding a Sense of Belonging, is incredibly relevant in a university environment, but also in the broader world. It really speaks to all of us.
Our shared vision of belonging is the thread that weaves through every touch point on Airbnb. You might have seen or heard this sentence by Brian Chesky, the CEO of Airbnb, but this is more than a business ad. This hits at the core of our existence, belonging. Belonging refers to a sense of connectedness or relatedness to a social group or system in which a person feels a valued member. It is a fundamental and a universal need of ours. Just think for a moment, how did you feel on your first day of college? Or how do we feel as part of a new group, whether at our workplaces or as part of a class project? It's often about, do I fit here? Do I matter here? Do I belong here? In fact, in educational settings, sense of belonging has been shown to affect a person's well-being, self-efficacy, academic achievement, as well as engagement. In one of my studies, I look at sense of belonging to university and among undergraduate and graduate students during the COVID-19 pandemic in a large Midwestern university. And I find that when students felt more supported in their courses, they also reported a higher sense of belonging to the university. Not only this, sense of belonging was a significant player in determining the strength between course support and students' well-being as well as self-efficacy. Now, this brings up two crucial points. One, the close link between sense of belonging and other socio-emotional attributes like self-efficacy and well-being. And number two, the need to understand complex mechanisms through which sense of belonging connects with other socio-emotional attributes and using that knowledge to create impactful and targeted interventions. I then took this work to a global scale and delved into studying sense of belonging among marginalized adolescent girls in India who face poverty and gender discrimination. This work took place in special government schools designed to provide quality education to historically minoritized girls. On one hand, I found that the global gender empowerment agenda trickled down to their households and even to the girls through various government policies and schooling systems in form of incentives like scholarships, awareness campaigns, etc., and really emphasized girl education and empowerment as priorities. These factors constituted strong signals that increased their sense of belonging to schooling settings. While on the other hand, girls continued to face oppression as a direct consequence of patriarchy. The families and societies that surrounded the girls had completely opposite expectations from them. And these experiences not only impacted their academic achievement, but they also reinforced the inequalities around them, thereby creating a sense of exclusion or not belonging. At the end, I argue through this study that the girls in this situation face two opposite states of belonging called belonging dissonance. The state that includes their inclusion or brings up their inclusion, but also marks their exclusion at the same time. They seem to coexist. Now, this is important to study because just going to school or colleges or workplaces is not enough. It is extremely critical for individuals to have meaningful experiences, for them to be successful in each of these spaces and ultimately in life. Understanding belonging is complex. It is present here in this room among us, but it also shows up in the world in completely different contexts. And that makes this work so local and yet so global. Because at the end, no matter where we are, we all want to belong. Thank you.
Dr. Ananya Tiwari is an ACES Assistant Professor of Educational Psychology. Again, if you're just tuning in, I'm Jay Sokol. You're listening to Brazos Matters. And today we're spotlighting a few of the speakers who recently appeared at Texas A&M School of Education and Human Development's annual Voices of Impact Speaker Series. There were a total of 12 faculty members who represented the school's 4 departments. You just heard 4 of them, but you can watch or listen to all 12 of them on YouTube. Just go to youtube.com/Aggie Education, and you'll find the 2024 Voices of Impact playlist. By the way, huge thanks to the School of Education and Human Development for even allowing us to share these leaders with you. We look forward to the 2025 Voices of Impact Speaker Series. Again, information about the entire School of Education and Human Development at A&M is at education.tamu.edu. And as I mentioned in the show open, Brazos Matters features conversations with people throughout the Texas A&M University campus and the broader community about issues that really matter to those who live and work here. Previous interviews we've done have touched on economic development and growth, our local school districts, environmental sustainability, challenges in our neighborhoods, and a lot more. You can find all of our Brazos Matters episodes at kamu.tamu.edu/radio, or also on the NPR app, YouTube, or on your favorite podcast platform. You can also email me with comments or questions, even suggestions about people and topics you feel make a lot of sense for Brazos Matters. My email address is jsocol, that's JAYSOCOL, at tamu.edu. jsocol@tamu.edu. One more thing. Are you interested in supporting KAMU either through a contribution or an underwriting opportunity for your business or organization? Information about all of that is at our website, kamu.tamu.edu. It's also a great time to remind you that you can submit requests for public service announcements and community calendar listings, again, all through our website. Brazos Matters is a production of Aggieland's Public Radio, 90.9 KAMU FM, a member of Texas A&M University's Division of Marketing and Communications. Our show was engineered and edited today by Matt Dittman. Again, you can learn more about us at kamu.tamu.edu. I'm Jay Sokol. Thanks for listening. Have a great day.